fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they drag the chains, you can say no, free me.
I guess the biggest question that comes up is, what does this trade with Tyreek Hill going to Miami mean for the Chiefs and for sure for the Raiders, as us being Raiders fans and being divisional rivals with the Chiefs? Plain and short for me, I think this opens up a huge question to the Chiefs. Now, I don't know how much of a hit to their offense this is going to be, but I think it's going to be a pretty big one. I mean, you look at all the highlights, you look at a lot of the Chiefs games, and you see Patrick Mahomes obviously has Kelsey as somewhat of a number one option, as some people would say. But I think in some respects too, Tyreek Hill was that number one option. And at a lot of the games, you would see Patrick Mahomes looking for Hill, and Hill would be the only one that would gain production and have multi-touchdown games and, several 50-yard plus touchdown bombs that Mahomes and Tyreek Hill love to connect on. I mean, there's a infamous play now from the Super Bowl that the Chiefs did win against San Francisco, where Tyreek Hill did a go route and Mahomes found him, and that kind of opened up the offense for them to score on San Francisco to kind of put them ahead of San Francisco to ultimately win that Super Bowl. And in my opinion, this kind of asks the question, who made who? Patrick Mahomes is a really good talent, but I would also say, in some respects, because of the weapons around him, yes, he's a good quarterback. I shouldn't say good. He's a great quarterback, but he looked better because of all this talent he had around him. And when Tyreek Hill wasn't in the lineup, did they go to Kelsey a lot more? Sure. But now with them having a game plan with different receiving weapons, with, say, Juju, who I don't think is a number one receiver. He's a really good number two receiver with a guy next to him. But and then MVS, can you trust him to be the number one guy? I don't think so. I think you need to either trade, sign, or draft somebody who you think is going to be a number one guy and to replace Tyreek Hill. But now this asks the ultimate question. Did Patrick Mahomes make Tyreek Hill great, or did Tyreek Hill make Patrick Mahomes great? And the reason why I say that is because Tyreek Hill, probably the fastest man in the entire NFL. We can probably all agree to that. And just seeing some of his highlights of him stopping very quickly, changing directions, changing speeds, getting open, finding the soft spot in the zone, and making a play. I know that Andrew and I have talked about this extensively. Andrew thinks that Tyreek Hill is a little overrated, if I'm understanding what his point was, because in his words, and this is what him and I have exchanged on, Tyreek Hill at times does not run the most pristine routes, and also too, he drops a lot of passes. Sometimes, he doesn't pay attention to the ball coming in, and it'll drop crucial passes that he doesn't need to. And I think the Chiefs earlier last season, when they started off slow, did look a little distracted, as if, they weren't really interested, and, they couldn't turn it on until later in the season. And then they made a pretty good playoff run, ultimately losing to the Bengals, nevertheless. But, I do think that Tyreek Hill at least is a top 10 wide receiver as is, at least with the information that we have. Does he have the greatest of hands? No. But who also doesn't have the greatest of hands? A.J. Brown. And he's a number one receiver. There's absolutely no doubt. I know that there's multiple receivers that maybe never drop the ball, like DeAndre Hopkins or, Jarvis Landry is another one that's really recognized for having great hands. There's another wide receiver that Allen Robinson, even just this past season with the minimal targets that he had, he dropped the ball the fewest amount of times with the opportunities he had. Tyreek Hill, does he have a drops problem? Maybe, but is it enough for him not to be considered top 10 talent with his speed and the fact that he just can get open? No, I think that's hard to just, I think it's hard to just say because he drops the ball a lot, he's not top 10. I think just on the surface, he's top 10. However, I do think that he was arguably top 5, maybe even top 3 when he was with Patrick Mahomes. But I would also say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. Like, Patrick Mahomes is top 10 talent, hands down. But is he now still top 5 without Tyreek Hill? Because, let's be honest, we're probably thinking, wow, Patrick Mahomes is really great. That's also because Tyreek Hill is right there. There's been times where, sometimes Kelsey, he's there, he gets involved, but not nearly at the volume or how they stretch the field with Tyreek Hill. I think we can all agree on that. So I think it poses an interesting question of whether if it's the Chiefs question, meaning is it Mahomes that made Tyreek Hill better or vice versa? And I think we're going to see what happens, especially when Tua gets these weapons. Now we got to find out, is Tua the real deal? I personally think that Tua is, I wouldn't say a bust, but I don't think he is a franchise quarterback. It doesn't look like it. However, that the offense is now more tailored to him, so we'll see what Mike McDaniels kind of tailors for him, since it's now more offensively driven. We'll see. But I think for the Raiders, though, this is kind of huge in my opinion, because the Chiefs' offense has always been something that the Raiders' defense had a hard time controlling. And in my opinion, a big part of it was Tyreek Hill. There is absolutely no DB, no safety that can keep up with Tyreek Hill. The only way to really contain Tyreek Hill is you got to have somebody that's deep, kind of just spying on Tyreek Hill only, essentially double covering him from the start. And even still, if you don't pay attention, Tyreek Hill will be behind the defense, or again, he'll find the spot in the zone. And Patrick Mahomes is pretty good about fitting it in there, which makes it very, very tough for defenses to game plan for that. And, even if Tyreek Hill only gets these little 2 to 3 yard, little passes from Mahomes or wide receiver screens, because Hill's so elusive, Tyreek Hill would normally tear up the Raiders' defense. I mean, sometimes we can get home to Patrick Mahomes, but a lot of the times it was Tyreek Hill containing him or Travis Kelce. In my opinion, now that the Raiders have pass rushing pressure that can get home to Mahomes, now that means that our game plan is a little different. We've also updated a couple of linebacking spots that are better in coverage, so that could kind of help against game planning against Kelce or running back screens. So I think this is very interesting for the Raiders. And offensively, I think, in my opinion, I know Andy Reid is an offensive guru. I know that the Chiefs, primarily, with the exception of Tyreek Hill now being traded, is still pretty much the same team from when they won the Super Bowl. Essentially, they haven't really lost any pieces, which means they're still a deadly offense. And what I feel, though, in my opinion, is I feel like the Raiders' offense, though, is slightly now better than the Chiefs. And I think that, I don't want to say that makes us better than the Chiefs, but I think that now puts us in a better opportunity to beat the Chiefs and ultimately beat them for potentially the AFC West title to get into the playoffs. Now, Denver is highly improved, which is another one we got to worry about. Chargers have only gotten better. They haven't lost anybody on the offensive side, and they've also gained defensive players. So there's absolutely no doubt the Raiders have an uphill battle. But I think with the Chiefs losing essentially their go-to guy for deep plays and to basically change the speed and to, make defenses worry and have to basically have one person strictly on Tyreek Hill the entire time, I think this puts the Chiefs more at I don't want to say normal level playing field, but I think that their advantage is now gone. And don't get me wrong, they still have Patrick Mahomes, but again, in my opinion, I think that Patrick Mahomes is still top 10, but I don't think Patrick Mahomes is top 5 now that he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. And again, I totally believe that this is all based on weapons and who they have at their disposal. Now that they don't have Hill there, who, again, I'm convinced was like their number one guy that got that offense. I wouldn't say rolling, but it got them in better field goal positions. I mean, look, they scored on Buffalo with Tyreek Hill with 13 seconds to go to force overtime to beat the Bills. That was to Tyreek Hill. And yes, a couple of throws were to Kelce, but that was Hill because of his speed and what he was able to do. And the Bills did their best to play that defense right, but they couldn't do it because no one can contain Hill one-on-one. And even still, if you don't pay attention, he can easily get behind the defense. So that's my thoughts on Tyreek Hill being traded to the Dolphins and what that means again for the Chiefs and the Raiders.